If you remember spending hours building the perfect house, keeping a close eye on the character's plumb bob color, only to have an unfortunate accident, then you grew up playing the original Sims. But what's the right way to play this game? Growing up, I had friends who meticulously planned and micromanaged every aspect of their Sims' life, educating them, getting them a good job, and slowly saving up for a bigger house with that coveted jacuzzi. Then I'd have friends who'd get the jacuzzi straight away and had their Sims live in a box, sleeping on the floor surrounded by their own filth. And then I had the friends who would just spam the money cheat and get the mansion with 10 jacuzzis. And all three of those seem to be valid gameplay styles. And so a little while back I reached out to my wonderful community to ask them how they played The Sims. And in this video we're going to take a look at your feedback to try and figure out what's the right way to play The Sims. Okay, let's start at the beginning, and of course everyone's Sims journey began with making characters and building a house. And as Koalan114 pointed out, this could take a while. Now, some people like to make copies of their own families while others recreated famous fictional families. Now, personally, I would make original families, but I would always infuse a bit of drama into their dynamic. Here's how it would usually go. Okay, so we've got the dad of the family, let's call him Bob Flandrew. That's a nice, strong name. His personality is neat, that's all. He has a son, Harry, who's also the world's youngest astronaut. But he's not neat at all, which is where the heart of the family drama lies. Then we have Harry's mum, who's just too nice for her own good. I also like to add a wild card, in this case a boarder who's very fashionably aware. He also has the Flandrew surname, which means Bob legally adopted him. Now, with the family ready, we could either buy or build a house, and for most of us, building the house was half the fun. Now, unfortunately, by the time I bought the plot of land, I had so little money left that I'd have to cut some corners and make some trade-offs. Alright, we don't need doors, windows, wallpapers, or floorboards. No appliances or toilets either. What we do need is a cracking sofa and a big plasma. What? Boarder doesn't like the sofa? And Harry's mum is concerned about burglars? Don't worry, love, no one's getting past the old beaded curtain. Harry, you're in the way of the TV. Shouldn't you be in space anyway? Now, as I mentioned at the start, this wasn't everyone's approach. For example, Ryan SPK would start by expanding the family, income, and house. I always had this goal of saving up for the big mansions in the neighborhood. Sometimes it's the journey, not the destination. The Sims taught me that more than anything. And that's great, Ryan. Unfortunately, I was a stupid child. For example, sensing a lot of stress in my newly created family, I decided to invest the last of my money in something that would cheer everyone up. The world's smallest swimming pool. What do you mean you need a shower, Harry's mum? You're in the swimming pool already. The Sims was my first insight into how needy people could really be. They're either hungry or uncomfortable or too depressed to find a job, or their bladder's life bar is low. Can you Sims just sort yourselves out already? I'm trying to save up for the jacuzzi. Okay, fine, here's a fridge, a shower, and an oversized love bed. Unfortunately, the other 3 beds have to go outside because there's no room. And I was glad to see that growing up, I wasn't the only one struggling to play The Sims properly. For example, Kenny HN wrote, I didn't know they had to eat, and when my guy was reading a book, he gently put it down, grabbed his stomach, and fell over dead. Or how about George3829 with his approach? At first, I tried to play the game normally, in the sense that I tried to keep my Sims fed and clean and all that kind of stuff. And after some hours, I realized that I just couldn't keep up with their demands, so I found ways of torturing them just to teach them that they shouldn't be that demanding. Oh, The Sims, a game of life. Anyway, investing time and effort into your Sims, having them grind through life to get a bigger house, grow their relationships, and become a functioning member of society was probably the way the developers intended for us to play the game. And I'm sure those of you who did have gone on to become doctors, engineers, and other well-adjusted members of society. But I've got one word for you. Rosebud, semicolon, exclamation mark, times 10. The original Sims probably had the most famous cheats of any game released around that time, and once your friend came over and showed them to you, it was like unlocking Pandora's box. The temptation to use them was just too great. Once I learned the money cheat, I would spend hours making a giant mansion in the shape of the bat symbol, filled with an overabundance of the most expensive stuff you could buy in the game. We've got 2 ponds, an indoor scuba room, a mechanical bull, 2 grand pianos, and an indoor pool shaped like the bat symbol. And of course there's still no lights or windows in the house. Ah, my pride and joy. Just look at how well it fits in with the rest of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, Bob would end up perishing in a tragic indoor fireworks accident, but I guess you've got to take the good with the bad. And judging by your feedback, the majority of players would also resort to using the money cheat. Some used it to build the house of their dreams, while others did it to add a bit more excitement excitement and speed up the game. For some, the cheats also provided a valuable life lesson that money doesn't always buy happiness, like Mordillo Kiwi, who built a mansion the size of the plot of land, landscaped the courtyards, and every imaginable luxury. I gave my Sims everything and was perplexed by their total unhappiness. With most other games, there's usually a stigma attached to playing with the cheats, but The Sims seem to have transcended that due to the open nature of the game. We weren't just getting unlimited ammo for some gun. The money cheats in The Sims allowed for our imaginations to run free and dabble in the game's creative sandbox, which is why to me this is also a very valid way to play the game. And speaking of overdeveloped imaginations, the game's open sandbox also allowed for some, let's just call them unusual playing styles, which many of you were all too happy to share. Dave Returns Again writes, "My personal experience with The Sims? Simple. Make a huge group of people, use the Rosebud cheat, then make a game show where you put them all in death games. Put them all in the pool and remove the stairs. First one to drown loses. Then get them all out, put them in separate rooms, then come up with other ideas like lighting fireworks in a heavily carpeted room. First to burn loses." I think this video is going to get me demonetized. Well, the pool and fireworks were very much the go-to when it came to experimenting on the poor Sims. It was certainly the case for Zeus the Irritable, who wrote, "The right way to play The Sims is to slowly but surely seduce and marry all the neighborhood NPCs, then lure them into the small shack o' fun behind the house, make them use the fireworks, and delete the door. Inherit, repeat. Congratulations, Zeus, the FBI is now monitoring your IP address." But it wasn't all fireworks and swimming pools. Some players prefer to psychologically traumatize their Sims, like Sorustus 1, who made a dude live in a one-room house and only focused on his career so he could make as much money as he could. Then I built a mansion attached to his house with no doors so he could never get in there. And can we also have a moment of silence for all the unfortunate souls who just wanted to play the game normally but had to share a PC with their evil sibling? For example, Lone Wolf Zakuro would make ideal families only to have their brother burn them alive when it was his turn on the computer. But the most elaborate act of sibling malevolence comes to us from Daniel Somerville. "My older brother and I shared a PC. I had set up a few families in the block and my brother had set up a giant gothic-style mansion with a witch he named Hagatha Mombi living there. Over the next few weeks, some of my characters would just never be home. Turns out, anytime he played, if one of my characters strolled past his house, he'd lure them in, murder them in a no-walled room or a pool with no ladder, then decorate his courtyard with their tombstones. Absolute savage. I was quite distraught when I found out." And so, as we can see, there is a whole bunch of ways to play the original Sims, from traditional to cheats to just plain insane. In his interview with Games Radar, the Sims creator Will Wright talked about his approach to designing the game. The key to it was getting the players into the right mind space of seeing the game as something that would be more creative and about exploring and a little less about winning. And I think this is exactly what the game ended up accomplishing. It morphed around the player's personality, allowing you to play it in the way you wanted. Which is why I don't think there's a right or wrong way to play The Sims. Apart from you, Dave Returns Again, what you did was just wrong. But that's just my take. Please let me know your way of playing The Sims and the memories you had of the game in the comments below. Also, this is a new video topic that I'm experimenting with, so if you've enjoyed it, please let me know other games or series that you'd like to see covered in the "What's the right way to play them" format. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to all my existing patrons. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.